G'day everyone, Chris from the Headache and Pain Management Centre for your Tuesday morning, and today I'm from the coffee shop just down the street from the clinic having a bit of a hot chocolate. It's a bit cooler outside today, and today, as promised, I'm talking about whiplash, and specifically today talking about whiplash and what you should do immediately after a car accident if you suspect that you have a whiplash injury. If you're joining me, type in below and say hello. I'll answer your questions as we go through, and obviously if there's any questions even after watching this video, type them in and I'm happy to answer them for you. G'day there, nice to see a couple of you joining me here on the Tuesday morning. So whiplash injuries are really quite nasty things if they go untreated. Everyone knows someone who's been in a car accident before, and we've all seen the stereotypical kinds of things that can happen with a whiplash injury, where people can have a neck brace on afterwards, where they feel like they can't move their neck, or the odd one where it's kind of like, well, it feels okay on the day, and then the next day when they wake up in the morning it's really quite sore, and we're thinking, well, what's going on? How do we actually manage this to start with? So the key thing to note is that the body is really, really strong. Okay, so your neck and your back and your spine is stronger than you think. It's held together by all sorts of ligaments, held together by all sorts of muscles. It's a really strong structure. The last thing we want is our head to actually fall off our neck. It just doesn't happen because everything is so strong. So what happens when you get a whiplash injury is that when you hit from behind, your neck does whip around a little bit like this, and there's a bit of a forward back motion that happens quite quickly. Now, a lot of the time when this happens, it really hurts. And the reason it really hurts is generally not because there's a lot of injuries there. There's rarely, there might be a little few muscle strains and things like ligament strains, things like that, but it's rarely ever causing a really huge injury to your spine, because you've got such a strong supporting structure all around it. So in the terms of ligaments, muscles and so on. Obviously what you want to do straight away after a whiplash injury is get assessed to make sure that there isn't any damage there. So going to your physiotherapist, going to your doctor to ensure that nothing bad has actually happened. If there's acute neck pain straight away afterwards, we want to make sure that there is no damage, there's no fractures or any nasties that can happen after a car accident. But a lot of the time, and I would say most of the time, there isn't actually huge amounts of injuries there. Rather, the pain is coming from a warning signal from your brain saying, whoa boy, we've just had a lot of force go through this neck of mine. We really don't want this to happen again. And the result of that is to tighten the muscles up and not move them all that great, just to say, hey, look, we should just be careful for a little while. Now, what we used to think about whiplash is that when you have a whiplash injury, you needed to arrest it. You needed to keep it still, you needed to have a neck brace on, and really just not do much with it for a week or two. Whereas what we now know about whiplash is that the quicker that you get things moving, the better that you get. Okay, so the quicker you get things moving, when there's no damage, obviously there's no fractures or anything like that, the quicker that you get things moving and more normal again, the better the outcome will be. Okay, so it's very rare for us to see a fresh whiplash injury, within a few days or a week, that we're not getting a really good result from it, because we're getting the education in about what the pain is all about and getting people moving very early. Okay, so my formula is basically this, is that when you come in with a whiplash injury, when you come in with a sore neck, reassurance and check that there's nothing there that is actually damaged. And we've got a lot of different criteria we can look at to make sure that nothing is freshly damaged, and if we need to, we can refer on or things like that, but most of the time you don't. What we need to do then is take the muscle spasm out of the neck so you're able to move freely as soon as possible, and then also taking the fear out of driving again, because often the thing that causes most of the disability post-whiplash is the fear and anxiety of getting back into the car or getting back into a car after an accident has happened. And obviously it's understandable if you've been through a traumatic accident that it would be scary to get back into the car, but all the research shows that the quicker we can get back to our normal life, the better. So getting things moving and getting things more back to normal as fast as possible is going to be the best thing for you to do long term, and there's a whole lot of studies that sort of prove that. So day one, post-whiplash injury, obviously what you want to do is if you're having neck pain immediately after, then you want to get that checked out straight away to make sure there's no nasties that are happening there. The more common thing that happens is that it's a bit of a shock to the system and you wake up the next day or two with a really sore neck and sore shoulders. And most of that's from muscle spasm and most of that is from the fear that your brain has about that happening again. So it makes it sore as kind of a warning shot. The most important thing that you can do is to get things moving as early as possible, as comfortably as possible. Seek advice from your physiotherapist about what the best thing to do is, and then come and get an exercise program, get educated about what your condition is, so that you're able to then get back on to do things much easier. My food's just come. I'm having a bit of an early lunch today, and I've got a hot chocolate here, so that's pretty much it from me for today. If there's any questions about whiplash in particular, particularly those that may not have had the response that they wanted thus far, type in below, because we do see a lot of chronic whiplash patients where the issues are more a sensitised system, some weakness of muscles and things like that. Type in any names that you might have of anyone that you might know who could use our help, and of course like, share, comment and ask questions as you need to. Good to see you once again, and we'll see you again later in the week with another video. I think this week it's going to be about low back pain later in the week. We'll talk again soon. Cheers, bye for now.